What's up, guys? Welcome back to another TheSportUniverse Reacts. So, long time no see, first off. I'm going to give a little break from all these football videos and talk some Mets rumors. This idea comes from a follower on Instagram. I don't know if he wants his name out there, so I'm not going to say it. But if you know who you are if you're watching this, so thank you. So, a big thing that happens after all the free agents are gone, or the bigger free agents are gone, players' fans and experts start thinking of other ways that a team could make themselves better, and that's through trades. So the first person, I went through blogs and stuff, and I kind of compiled the three biggest things that I've seen. So the first one's Nolan Arenado. If you're a baseball fan, you know who that is. Nolan Arenado is an elite defender, possibly the best third baseman, defensively wise, in the history of baseball. And then from there, his offense is also elite. Those two things combined, he's probably top 3, top 5 everyday hitter, everyday player in baseball. I'd go as far as to say number 1. I know Mike Trout's there, but I'm not going to get into that. So what I've seen, the Rockies want a center fielder or an outfielder, a controllable center fielder or a center fielder. A controllable center fielder or a first baseman. The Mets have Dominic Smith, definitely a controllable first baseman. Center field-wise, they have Brandon Nimmo, but defensively, he doesn't really fit center field, and the Mets tried him out there, and it didn't really work. So I'd say the trade would have to include Dom Smith. And then this is all on the hope that the Rockies would be willing to get a low-level prospect and not a prospect that could get to the team in the next 1 to 2 years. The Mets have some very high blue-level prospects in the minors, in the low-level minors. In their higher levels, they don't really have anyone currently that really is eye-opening because everyone's on the team already. And also, thank you, Brody Van Wagenen, for making some trades. Some really costly trades. So some of those prospects are Ronnie Mauricio, Brett Beatty, Matthew Allen, Francisco Alvarez. The one that's closest to making impact is Ronnie Mauricio, possibly 2021. Don't know how that's going to work. How I see a trade like this happening, it would be Dom Smith, Steven Matz, and 2 of those prospects. And I would most certainly do that for Nolan Arenado. Dom Smith, he's just a trade piece for the Mets at this point. He's not going to be their first baseman unless something tragic happens to Pete Alonso. Knock on, tragic, I mean by injury. Just knock on wood. Good. Or Steven Matz, in terms of he's a great pitcher, but I don't see him as anything better than a third. He's not He's a third pitcher on any team. 4th pitcher for the Mets because of the talent. I don't know where you consider Marcus Stroman and Steven Matz, that whole thing, to work out. But he's definitely a talent, but I think the Mets, if they can get Nolan Arenado, I'd trade him in a heartbeat. And then prospects for me, the Mets are in win now mode. I think it's obvious, and these prospects are low enough that you'd have to wait a significant amount of time for them to be ready. And by then, hopefully, the Mets have made trades and made moves that there's a lot of prospects already in their system, so you don't have to worry about it. So I definitely make that trade for Nolan Arenado. The one interesting thing is that in his contract, Nolan Arenado can opt out after 2021, so you have to keep that in mind. And also, he's getting paid a significant amount of money through 2026. But that shouldn't really be a problem, I would say, because I'd assume the Rockies would chip in some of that money, and also with Steve Cohen's money coming, there's a lot on the table for the Mets to use. Next up would be Mookie Betts. He's a free agent after this season, so there's a lot of rumors floating around about him. His last season, he had a really good season, 29 home runs, 80 RBIs, 295 average. So the Mets would definitely be interested. They need an everyday center fielder, and Mookie Betts fits that. I'm going to get into this a little bit more, but for trade for Mookie Betts, it depends on who they get traded, but I really hope that the Mets could figure out a way to establish that he's going to be there past this season. When they traded for Cespedes, he was supposed to be done after that season, but luckily they were able to make a deal with him that he'd stay longer, and that was a risk that they took, and I really didn't like that risk, so hopefully they don't have to do that again. So the possible packages for Mookie Betts that I've seen, Brandon Nimmo and Steven Matz, Noah Syndergaard would be straight up. Then Jeff McNeil and prospects for... Well, actually, probably Jeff McNeil for Mookie Betts straight up. Yeah. So, going through those packages for the Mets, I'd say Brandon Nimmo and Steven Matz, that would be the most value for the Mets to trade. Like, they would get the most cost benefit, be the best for the Mets in that scenario. To me, I'd even make that trade if Mookie Betts doesn't say that he's going to be on the Mets after next season. I just don't really see them as impactful guys. Steven Matz, I don't see Steven Matz ever improving farther than where he is right now. Brandon Nimmo, I think, is a little overhyped. I like him. He seems to be a great player, great fit for the locker room. But I think the Mets could get a steal with trading him because he's overhyped, in my opinion. The next two trades, Noah Syndergaard and Jeff McNeil, both would be straight up. I'd have to have... I wouldn't trade Jeff McNeil. I think I'm just going to say that straight out. Jeff McNeil is one of those talents that the Mets have control of for a while. And he's played well ever since he got called up. There's no reason to trade him. But Noah Syndergaard, I'd definitely be interested in trading. I personally also think he's overhyped. He's never really proven that he's going to be that elite pitcher that everyone thinks he's going to become. I hope he does. But I just haven't seen enough from him to actually have confidence in him. But I would definitely have to have confirmation that Mookie Betts is going to stay past next season with the Mets. But if that happens, I'd definitely trade Noah Syndergaard for Mookie Betts. They need a center fielder. Mookie Betts is such a talent. An outfield of Michael Conforto, Mookie Betts, and Yoenis Cespedes would be insane. So I'd definitely be interested in that. Now, bringing up Yoenis Cespedes also brings up an interesting point. It seems like Yoenis Cespedes is going to play this season and play a significant amount of time unless there's another injury. So I think having to trade for an outfielder is less of a concern for the Mets currently. Even though they don't really have a center fielder, I think Michael Conforto is suitable at that role. Or they could sign like Kevin Pillar. He'd definitely be a good center fielder. But I don't think they'd have to make a trade at this point. But I'd take Mookie Betts if they made that trade. Last thing that I'm going to discuss is Chris Bryant. To me, Chris Bryant seems like the best fit for the Mets. I forgot to look up his contract, but I think he has at least 2 more years left. Let me explain why I think he's the best fit. So hold on. Let me explain Chris Bryant a little bit. So Chris Bryant last season, 282 batting average, 77 RBIs, 31 home runs. A really good season. He had a bounce-back season after having injury played season before where he only played 100 games, I think it was. That was his injury play season was his worst season, and he's always had really good seasons after that or before that. Chris Bryant, if you had Chris Bryant and Pete Alonso, 2 sides of the diamond, that would be insane. Same thing with Nolan Arenado, I guess. But the reason I think Chris Bryant is the best bang for the Mets buck, I guess. Nolan Arenado, has a lot of money on the table for him. He would cost significantly more than Chris Bryant. And I think Chris Bryant's a great talent as well, and he's also versatile. I think Chris Bryant, in what I'm thinking, they would only have to trade Noah Syndergaard straight up for Chris Bryant, and I'd do that. I think the main problem with the Mets, the main concern, is getting some more hitters in their lineup, and Chris Bryant is a significant hitter, as you can see from his stats and everything. And Noah Syndergaard's a good pitcher. He's their number 2. But I think he's overhyped, and I think the Mets can take advantage of that. So if I'm just a quick summary as I end the video, Nolan Arenado, The Mets would probably have to trade Dom Smith, Steven Matz, and 2 prospects. I'd do that trade in a heartbeat. Mookie Betts, how I interpret what could happen, I'd say Brandon Nimmo and Steven Matz would get traded for Mookie Betts even if there wasn't, and if I was the GM, Brandon Nimmo and Steven Matz would get traded for Mookie Betts even if there wasn't confirmation that he'd stay with the Mets past 2021. Past next season, because I feel that Brandon Nimmo and Steven Matz aren't talent that you have to really worry about in my eyes if you lose for a season. Then Chris Bryant, or trade Noah Syndergaard for Mookie Betts straight up, but that would have to be with confirmation that he's going to stay past next season. Chris Bryant, I forgot to look up what his contract is, but I think he has at least 2 more years with the Cubs. In my opinion, he's the best bang for the Mets buck. I think they'd only have to trade Noah Syndergaard for Chris Bryant straight up. And Chris Bryant is similar to Nolan Arenado, perfect fit at third baseman, and would be an awesome fit for the Mets. So that's basically it. Thanks for watching. If you have... Oh, yeah. Like I end every video. If you're interested in editing for us, writing videos, any way you think you could help us, contact us at TheSportUniverse2019@gmail.com. Other than that, thanks for watching. See ya. Bye.